about 5 comedians, and I would come out and support their shows, and then I realized that I was not necessarily funnier than them, but that like I had material that was also getting laughs, so I decided to try it out, and it was really fun, and I realized I liked doing comedy more than dating comedians, so I stopped dating comedians and started focusing on writing material. The first time I performed, I did surprisingly well, and I was actually told that my material was a lot darker than people anticipated it would be, because I feel like the coolest thing about comedy is that you turn your frustrations in life into jokes, and it's like free therapy, and it was like I could take all this weight off of me of all the shit that I was going through and turn it into people praising me and like saying, oh, well, that's really funny. Also, I can relate to that, which is nice because I'm like one of the few parents in comedy, and like I can joke about being a parent, and that's really cool, and talk about work in a way that like I can't do at work without getting fired. So for me, comedy has just become this free emotional outlet, and then like Sleepy was saying, it's just a huge way of connecting with people in a way that feels like community and family. I am a huge fan of Zach Galifianakis. He's my favorite. The one where he's drunk at the piano is absolutely hands down my favorite. There are other comedians I like too, but Zach Galifianakis is always like my default go-to. I love him. I love his style. I love that I'm a storyteller and he's a one-line type person, and I love that because I can't do that. I can't think of like 50 one-liners. I can think of a few stories. So I love that he can do that. I love Frasier. I like the dry shit. I love Frasier. So when I was little, my mom caught me watching Ren and Stimpy and cut cable. So I grew up on Little House on the Prairie, and then when I was older, that dry shit, I grew up on Frasier. And so Frasier is my default show. I like The Office. The Office is my second, but Frasier is where it's at. I love watching Frasier, and then I love backtracking and watching Cheers and looking for inconsistencies because I love Frasier's storyline. So for me, that's like where my comedy style is at. And then I also love Parks and Rec. It's also a good one. So it's Frasier, then The Office, then Parks and Rec, because they have elements of them that like relate to real life, which I like. It's not just like slapstick. It's actually like relatable emotional content, and that's why I like all 3 of those. I do like SNL, but those are so hit and miss because it's not even up to the person that's hosting, it's up to whoever writes that week. I feel like I love SNL, but it is so hit and miss now, whereas the older stuff is pretty solid. I don't watch a lot of movies. I've got a little kid, so I'm kind of limited with comedy, with movies anyway. That's harder for me to get to. I would have to say at this time my favorite is Kate McKinnon motorboating Ryan Gosling's ass when she's doing a bit about aliens. Like, she has this way of making everyone else laugh cry when she's totally on, and she's not breaking, but everyone else is, no matter how many times they practice. And I wish I could do that because I know that I would be laugh crying while I'm pretending to do it, but she's a fucking goddess, and she has this way of and this is also why I like Will Ferrell, is he can sell his material without breaking as well, and everyone else is dying laughing, but they commit and they don't break from what they're doing, and she does that. And there's these skits where she's abducted by aliens or has a near-death experience, and they're my favorite. And my daughters learn new words from those skits, and it's worth it because she's so fucking funny. And I love that. Zach Galifianakis, I fucking love him. I also love Will Ferrell because, like you were saying, he covers like everything. He's actually my daughter's favorite right now too. Is like earlier today we literally just watched him in every interview he's ever done on a talk show because he's always on. And there's a bit he does where he's like crashing. I forget if it's Fallon or Conan, but he's like the knife guys with Ryan Gosling, and it's just he can be on and not break, whereas other comedians break when they do sketches, and it can be funny, but it doesn't seem professional, and it's like you're giggling at them giggling, but he's fucking on all the time. There's a bit that he does where he's with Fallon, where he's Little Debbie, and that's my daughter's favorite right now, and I understand why. So Zach Galifianakis is my default, but Will Ferrell is like the dream. Is like, I love him. He is adorable. I've never known a man without a beard that I was interested in, but it's Will Ferrell for me. He's just golden. I've never seen anything he's done. Of course, I intentionally didn't watch that last horrible movie he did, but I've never seen anything he's done that didn't crack me up. He's so funny. I love him. I would love to hear what Zach Galifianakis thinks of me, just because I think that he is a genius. And Sarah Silverman, I used to have a thing against her because we share the same first name, so I feel like she's stealing part of my identity. But I also think that she's brilliant, and I would love to hear her perspective. Kate McKinnon, I love her. She's amazing. She's a huge idol of mine because she is both emotional and hilarious, and I love that she can do both, because that is hard to do in comedy, is to be both. Martin Short is another huge one for me. And, God, I can't think of the fifth one. Fuck. I can think of four. I can't think. Melissa. I forget her last name, but she's in everything. And I can't think of her last name, but she's really funny. She's a bigger girl, but she's like a comedy genius, and she knows how to make fun of herself, but still have integrity. And I love that because that's a really hard thing to balance. I love writing. One of my favorite parts of comedy is the writing aspect, and one of my favorite things to do is workshop, just because it's amazing how when you have several minds melding together, how quickly a new idea can form. And I think that the writing and the execution of that is such a fun experience that it just feels wholesome to me for a bunch of people to write a joke and hear someone do it and it does well. I love that feeling. So a lot of people that do comedy want to be successful. This is my social life. I want to travel more. That's really my goal. Is I want to travel. I want to go out of town at least once a month to perform is my personal goal. I know I'm not funny enough to be famous, and that's cool. That's fine with me. For me, I like the people that I meet and the friends I accumulate, and it's totally social, and on top of that, it's an emotional outlet for me. This is way cheaper than therapy. So for me, I've been running a show for a year now. It's the first show that I've ever run, and I love doing it because when I'm having a hard time, I can give myself stage time, and that's been really helpful for a lot of reasons. But I know I'm not going to be famous, and I'm okay with it. I just want to meet people and make friends and vent when I need to. So for me, it's an outlet. You can follow me on Facebook and on Instagram. So my Instagram is Little China Brawl, which is my Devil Girl spread name. But I'm also on Facebook and Instagram as Sunday Funny's Free Comedy Show. I also run a all-female non-binary group called Humortals, which is available on Facebook. We don't have an Instagram at this time, but I'm really big into making the community more open and welcome to females and non-binary identifying comedians and performers, just because when I started doing comedy, it was really hard for women. It's usually one, maybe two per rotation, and my thing is I want more of that. I want comfort. We're in Tallahassee. We don't need to be competitive here. This isn't Atlanta, Chicago, LA, or New York. Like, we can be family here. We're not fighting each other. And so my thing is I just want people to be comfortable on stage. So it's Sunday Funnies Comedy on Instagram, Sunday Funnies Free Comedy Show on Facebook, Humortals on Facebook. I want them to feel like they were welcome and that they had fun and that they want to come back. I want people to have a good time and want to visit and tell people, hey, I want to go to Birds in Tallahassee, because that room was incredibly enthusiastic. They were responsive, they were welcoming, and I met good people, and now I have people that I can talk to in the future. I want to make connections, but I also want people to want to come back because they want to be around that feeling. My name is Sarah Lamb, and I'm on acutiepie.com.